What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today is another installment of Macro Monday here on the channel where I review a beer from a macro brewery or a macro-esque beer from a craft brewery. And the beer I'm reviewing today once again comes from Grupo Modelo, and they are headquartered in Mexico City, Mexico, and this is their Victoria. So this is a Vienna-style lager that comes in at 4% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in time of review. I believe this bottle is approximately 7 months old, but it also has a best by date of December of 2024. And we're about 3 weeks away from December, so we should be good, although we're coming in just under the gun, according to the brewery. And I picked this one up at Halftime Beverage via halftimebeverage.com. So in the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that I grabbed, and I grabbed 20 beers in total, and a couple of them were specifically for Macro Monday. This beer included. The reason for that is because I have seen this one here in the Buffalo, New York area, but I've never seen singles of it. I don't want to buy an entire 12-pack, so they had singles of it at halftime, so I grabbed it. Now, the interesting thing about this one is apparently it's a Vienna-style lager, and I've never had this before, so you can see, or I can see, I don't know if you can actually see, but in the bottle, it definitely looks darker. It looks like a Vienna-style lager, you know, in your Samuel Adams kind of range and whatnot. So I'm curious to see how this one is. I do like some darker Mexican beers, like Negra Modelo, for instance, which is like a Munich Dunkel. That's one of my favorite Mexican beers. So I'm curious about this one. Not super fresh, but hopefully it's fresh enough. And the reason why I think it's 7 months old is it does have a code on here, and I think the D094 stands for D for April, 09 for the 9th day, and then 4 for 24. That would make sense. They probably give this one like an 8-month shelf life, and that would line up for what I'm thinking here. So anyway, let's pour it into my Genesee Cream Ale, which is the de facto glass I use for all of these reviews, and we will see what this Victoria is all about. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. Try to get a little bit more of an aggressive pour here so I can get ahead maybe. Yeah, not great. About a finger of a head. Should be fine. Throw it over here. So as far as like a Vienna lager goes, I think it's pretty good. On camera, it's probably going to look better than it does in person. In person, it just has like this light kind of amber, more caramel kind of color look to it, almost like a copper tone. It's not that dark, but yeah, probably in the realm of like a Boston lager, maybe a shade or two lighter. Had it, like I said, a finger of this, I would say off-white, really nice looking head that is now dissipated to like a half a finger. Good carbonation. This has the nucleation at the bottom here to promote the carbonation, the glass itself. Hold it up to the light, yeah, you can see right through it, crystal clear. Great clarity. It kind of looks like what I'd expect from the style, honestly. So the appearance, spot on. Although maybe a little bit lighter than I anticipated. Anyway, let's get a nose. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, it has sweet, like brown bread, like a toasted, like a slightly toasty brown bread. And although it's probably not, I would say, appropriate per se for the style, it does have a little bit of like a caramelized sugar, like a caramel or a toffee. There's a little bit of what I think is going to be sweetness. Yeah, like a sweet, it has like a sweet toasty kind of like cereal grain kind of note. There's a little bit of like an apple in here, but like a red apple, not a green apple. And a very faint kiss of like a grassiness. There isn't a huge abundant amount of flavor here. Like for me, it just has a nice kind of like toasted brown bread quality to it with a little bit of fruitiness and that touch of that grassiness. Smells pretty good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. That's nice. This is definitely, for me, and everybody's different, but if I'm looking at Mexican beers and specifically Mexican lagers, you know, you have your typical Mexican lagers or Mexican pilsners that are kind of the most well-known ones. But then you get into like the Negra Modelos, you get into this, and even like Bohemia, which I feel, this kind of reminds me of Bohemia in terms of like it has a little bit more of like a darker type of flavor to it. I think that's where my preference lies with these Mexican beers. But this is actually really nice, like medium body, 4%, that's impressive. The mouthfeel, like you'd expect, crisp, clean, really refreshing. Has a good carbonation, like a moderate touch over moderate carbonation, still smooth on the palate. The taste, though, the nose really did carry over. It's toasted brown bread with a little bit of like a confectionery caramelized like caramel toffee, like a molasses. Very slight though. It's not too big, and I don't think it's out of place for the style whatsoever, but it kind of has a little bit of that kind of the sweetness that you'd associate with those caramelized sugars. There's an underlying like cereal grain kind of quality as well. But then midway through the palate, I get a little bit of that red apple. It's like a sweeter red apple. And then it finishes with, again, a kiss of this grassy hop character, a very mild bitterness on the finish, but it's quite dry. This is almost full-on dry. It's like, I'd say medium to full-on dry. It's not like sapping my my tongue and my mouth of like all the saliva, but it definitely has a nice kind of firm dryness to it. The beauty about this one is, though, up front it does seem like it's going to be a sweeter kind of lager. It dries up enough on the finish with that little bit kiss of that grassy bitterness to really balance it out. It's not amazing. It's not like the flavors aren't like overwhelming me and I'm like going nuts about it, but man, I could drink quite a few of these. And I'll be honest with you, the most impressive thing about this beer for me personally is the fact that it is only 4%. It's 4%. It's equivalent to a lot of the light lagers you see here in the US, like your Coors Light and Bud Light and Miller Light and everything. This has way more flavor, and if you are a craft beer drinker and you're looking for something a little bit lighter from a macro brewery, I'd say grab this. Now I'm kind of thinking maybe I should have picked up a 12-pack at some point to give it a go. Yeah, it's not an amazing beer, but man, it's really nice for what it is. Now, you know, when it comes to these Macro Mondays and a lot of these macro lagers I drink, I never go really too high with them because I don't drink them a lot. They're not my favorite style, but I give every beer a fair shake, and this is really good. I think to date, Bohemia and Grupo Modelo have been like two of the higher rated Mexican style lagers, or I shouldn't say Mexican style, just Mexican lagers or lagers from brewed from Mexican breweries. I would say that this is up there with those beers. Regardless of the rating I give, those Bohemia and Grupo Modelo especially, this kind of is in that range, maybe not as robust and tasty as both of those beers, but I think it deserves to, I think it deserves a little bit of credit. Also keep in mind, I believe this bottle is like 7 months old, which is even more impressive. Luckily, it's in a brown bottle. If this was in like your Corona bottles of just like the white bottles, this would probably be all skunked to hell. And there's no skunkiness here. There's no off flavors. I'm detecting nothing that's kind of going sideways. It's a really clean beer. Yeah, this is nice. This is really fucking nice. I can't believe it. I would say stylistically for a Vienna-style lager, you know, I'm not going to give a Vienna-style lager rating because I don't think it like hits true to the tasting notes that I typically get with Vienna-style lager, although you don't see a lot of Vienna-style lagers or Vienna lagers in general. The most commercial example, of course, would be Samuel Adams' Boston Lager, and a lot of people would argue that that is a Vienna-style lager. They would. There's a lot. I've seen the arguments before, people saying it is, some people saying not really. For me, I'd say this is a really nice beer. I just noticed this was a little bit off kilter. Yeah. Fuck, what do I give this? You know what? I'm going to give this a high 3.75. I'm going to go Victoria from Grupo Modelo. I'm going to give this a 3.85. I think this is really nice. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked. Why should I be shocked? I don't know. I go into every beer review, or try to, without any preconceived notions, but at the same time, I think for what this is, let's just say as like if you're picking up a lager, like a macro lager from a Mexican brewery, this would be towards the top of the list for me. And rating wise, I'd give it like a 4.25 or something like that. But for overall, just how much I'm enjoying this beer, I'd say 3.85, and that's a really nice score. I don't remember what I gave like Boston Lager, but I didn't give it much higher than that, I'll tell you that much. So this is really nice stuff. Pick it up if you have access to it. Price point availability. Now I paid $2.99 for that bottle, which is exceptionally high. But again, I bought it at Halftime Beverage. It's a little bit higher. And on top of that, I can't find singles here in the Buffalo, New York area. I've never seen them. I did look up 12 packs. It seems 12 packs of this usually are in the range of like $18 to $20, which makes sense. A lot of other beers I haven't reviewed yet. Like I don't think I've reviewed, is Tecate? I don't think I've reviewed Tecate. This, and then there was one other that I have not, Sol. And usually I only see them in 12 packs, and they're usually $18 to $20. So that's kind of the range this one is in. You know, that's fine. It's imported. You're paying less than $2 a bottle. I'm okay with that. And availability, I have absolutely no idea. Maybe Grupo Modelo has a website, or Victoria has a website where you can do a beer finder. I'm pretty sure Victoria does have a website, and they probably have a beer finder. Most of the big macro companies do. So if you've never seen this one and sounds interesting, go to the website and see if they distribute to your area. I know they do here in Buffalo, like I said, but I've never seen a single bottle of it. Like no stores have ever offered just singles of it. So I jumped at the chance to try it, even though it's not super fresh. I'm digging it. So if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. What do you think about this one? 4%, you can't feel it. Like I said, I'm impressed by the body being a little bit bigger. I would guess 5.5 for this one. So the body definitely bigger than I anticipated. The drinkability is through the roof. It has a little bit nicer flavors. And if you're somebody who just, strictly drinks like Mexican style lagers, whether Pilsner, Lager, whatever, and you're like Coronas and you're a Modelo Especial and things like that, try this out. It's a little bit more of a flavor punch and it's definitely different, but in my opinion, in a good way. So anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. Like I said, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another Macro Monday. I have one other Macro Monday that I'm going to get to before the end of the year, and that is from Narragansett, their Atlantic Light Lager. I think it's like 3.4%. I also bought it at Halftime Beverage. Never saw it here in my area, so I'm going to give that one a go. I'm always curious when sub 4% beers, let alone 3.4. I'm curious to see if that has any flavor at all. It's Narragansett. I like their lager, but we'll see what that one's all about. So thanks. To the next one. Cheers.